Imagine a common peasant, covered in filth from the pig pens, illiterate, probably never traveled more than 10 miles from where he was born. Now imagine him standing over the broken bodies of the world's most feared Mongol raiders, his hands covered in their blood, his makeshift army of farmers and shepherds celebrating round him. 3 years later, that same peasant sits on the throne of an empire, wearing the crown, commanding armies, married to the former empress. In the rigid, divinely ordained hierarchy of medieval Europe, this was impossible. Peasants were born to serve. Kings were chosen by God. The social order was absolute and unchangeable. Except one man didn't get the message. His name was Ivalo. History remembers him as the Iron Tsar, the only successful peasant usurper in the entire Middle Ages. The swineherd who became emperor through sheer, bloody grit. This is his story, and it's proof that even in the most rigid systems, one determined man with nothing to lose can shatter empires. Bulgaria, the Balkan crossroads between empires. To understand how impossible Ivalo's rise was, you need to understand medieval society's structure. It wasn't just social hierarchy. It was cosmic order, divine law. God himself had ordained that society be organized into 3 estates. Those who pray clergy, those who fight nobility, and those who work peasants. You were born into your estate. You died in your estate. Moving between them wasn't difficult, it was heresy. Defying the social order meant defying God's plan for the universe. Ivalo was born into the absolute bottom. Not even a farmer with land. A swineherd. Someone who tended pigs' animals considered unclean. The lowest occupation in a society already obsessed with hierarchy. He had no education, no family connections, no wealth, no prospects beyond dying in the same filth he was born into. But he had something the Bulgarian nobility didn't: proximity to reality. Because while the aristocrats debated theology in Tarnovo's palaces, the countryside was burning. Mongol raiders from the Golden Horde swept through Bulgarian villages, killing, looting, enslaving. These weren't the organized Mongol conquests of Genghis Khan's era. These were extraction raids, the Golden Horde demanding tribute through violence, taking what they wanted because Bulgaria was too weak to stop them. The Bulgarian Tsar, Constantine Tik, did nothing effective. His armies were defeated. His nobles were paralyzed. His strategy was paying tribute and hoping the raids would stop. They didn't stop. And in the villages, the peasants Ivalo among them watched their families murdered, their crops stolen, their children taken as slaves. The social contract was broken. The nobility promised protection in exchange for labor and loyalty. But there was no protection, just death. And Ivalo, the swineherd who wasn't supposed to have opinions or agency, decided he'd had enough. What happened next shouldn't have been possible. Ivalo began organizing, not through official channels, he had none. Through desperation, village to village, farmer to farmer, shepherd to shepherd. The nobles won't protect us, so we protect ourselves. He formed a peasant militia, armed with farming tools, hunting weapons, whatever they could find. No armor, no training, no horses, just rage. And a leader who somehow knew how to use it. The first Mongol raiding party that encountered Ivalo's militia probably laughed. Peasants, with pitchforks and axes. against Mongol cavalry. They stopped laughing when the ambush closed, because Ivalo understood something the nobles didn't. He knew the terrain. Every forest, every mountain pass, every river crossing. This was his land. He'd herded pigs through these valleys his entire life. The Mongols were raiders, not conquerors. They moved fast, struck hard, and withdrew before resistance could organize. They didn't expect organized resistance from peasants. Ivalo gave them organized resistance. He used guerrilla tactics, ambushes in narrow passes where cavalry advantages disappeared, night raids, hit and run, making the Mongols pay for every mile in Bulgarian territory. And he won. Repeatedly, each victory brought more recruits, more weapons stripped from Mongol dead, more confidence, more belief that maybe, just maybe, the cosmic order wasn't as fixed as the clergy claimed. Word spread. The swineherd who fights Mongols. The peasant general who wins battles that says armies lose. Ivalo became a folk hero, a symbol, proof that the nobility had failed and the commons could succeed. And then Ivalo made a decision that would change Bulgarian history. If the Tsar can't protect Bulgaria, maybe Bulgaria needs a different Tsar. If you're watching this thinking about how one determined individual can challenge systems everyone thinks are unchangeable, hit that subscribe button and like this video. Because Ivalo's story isn't just medieval history, it's a blueprint for how impossible odds get beaten through strategy, timing, and absolute refusal to accept your assigned place. Ivalo marches on Tarnovo, the capital, not to petition, not to beg, to conquer. His peasant army has grown, thousands strong now, battle-hardened from Mongol fighting, loyal to him personally, not to any noble house or divine mandate. Tsar Constantine Teak sends the royal guard to stop them. Professional soldiers, well-armed, well-trained, the military elite of Bulgaria. They face farmers and shepherds led by a swineherd. The battle is brief and brutal. The royal guard breaks, flees. The professional soldiers can't match the desperation and cohesion of men fighting for survival and revenge. Constantine Teak himself is killed. Sources disagree on exactly how. Some say in battle, others say executed after capture by Ivalo personally. Either way, the Tsar is dead, killed by a peasant. The cosmic order just shattered. Ivalo enters Tarnovo, the capital of the Second Bulgarian Empire, and he doesn't bow, doesn't negotiate, doesn't accept a subordinate position. He declares himself Tsar. The shockwaves ripple across Europe. This isn't a noble seizing power from another noble. This isn't a military coup by generals. This is a peasant, an actual peasant with no claim, no lineage, no divine right sitting on an imperial throne. It's impossible, unthinkable, against God's law, and yet it's happening. The Bulgarian nobility faces a dilemma. Resist and face the same fate as Constantine, or accept the peasant Tsar and admit the entire social hierarchy is negotiable. Many resist. Many are killed. Some flee to Byzantium. Some submit. And Ivalo solidifies his position through a brilliant political move. He marries Constantine's widow, Empress Maria. It's not romantic, it's strategic. Maria carries Byzantine imperial blood. She's the daughter of Byzantine Emperor Michael VIII. Marrying her gives Ivalo a shred of dynastic legitimacy, a connection to established power. It's also deeply uncomfortable for everyone involved. An empress forced to marry the man who killed her husband, a peasant marrying into imperial bloodlines. But it works, sort of, because now Ivalo faces the real challenge, actually ruling an empire, while everyone wants him dead. Ivalo's reign as Tsar lasts about 3 years, and they're 3 years of constant warfare. To the south, Byzantium. Emperor Michael VIII sees Ivalo as an upstart peasant who murdered his son-in-law and needs to be crushed. He sends armies. Repeatedly, Ivalo defeats them. Repeatedly, he proves to be as skilled in conventional warfare as guerrilla fighting. His peasant armies, now battle-hardened and properly equipped, hold their own against Byzantine professional forces. To the north, the Mongols, still raiding, still demanding tribute, still trying to subjugate Bulgaria. Ivalo fights them too, successfully. He's the only Bulgarian leader in decades who can actually defend the borders. He's fighting a two-front war, with an empire that doesn't fully accept his legitimacy, with nobles constantly plotting, with Byzantium funding rival claimants to the throne. And he's winning. For a while, the Byzantine sources are primary records of this period described by Ivalo with grudging respect. They call him the peasant as an insult, but they also acknowledge his military genius, his ability to read battles, his tactical flexibility, his personal courage. He earns the nickname Irons are not from his supporters, but from his enemies, because he's unbreakable, relentless, impossible to intimidate. But even iron can be worn down. The constant warfare exhausts Bulgaria. The peasant base that brought Ivalo to power starts to crack under the strain. They wanted protection from Mongols. They're getting endless war against Mongols, Byzantines, and internal rebels. Support erodes. Not because Ivalo fails militarily, he's still winning battles, but because winning battles isn't enough when the entire established order is united against you. Byzantine gold buys betrayals. Nobles defect. Mongol pressure intensifies. New claimants to the throne emerge, nobles with proper bloodlines willing to be Byzantine puppets. And Ivalo faces an impossible calculation. He can keep fighting and watch Bulgaria tear itself apart, or he can withdraw and save what remains. He chooses a third option that almost works. He'll seek Mongol support. The Golden Horde, his former enemies. It's desperate, but logical. Ivalo leaves Bulgaria, travels north to the Golden Horde's territory, seeks an audience with the Khan. He never returns. What happened to Ivalo at the Golden Horde remains uncertain. The most common account, the Khan initially receives him, listens to his proposal, then realizes that Byzantium and the Bulgarian nobles are all offering tribute and recognition if the Khan eliminates this troublesome peasant. Dead, Ivalo is worth more than alive. He's murdered, probably treacherously, possibly during a feast. The Khan sends his head back to Bulgaria as proof. The peasant emperor dies in exile, betrayed by the enemies he once defeated. Back in Bulgaria, the throne goes to a noble Ivan Asen III backed by Byzantine power and Mongol tolerance. The social order is restored. The brief, impossible moment when a swineherd wore the crown ends. History, written by nobles for nobles, remembers Ivalo as a footnote. A curious anomaly. Proof that even peasants could cause trouble if nobility weakened enough. But he deserves better than a footnote. Because Ivalo remains the only successful peasant usurper in medieval European history. Not low nobility claiming peasant origins. Actual peasant, born in filth, died in betrayal, ruled an empire in between. He proved that divine right was negotiable, that social hierarchy wasn't cosmic law, that a man with nothing could take everything if he was strong enough, smart enough, ruthless enough. He saved Bulgaria from Mongol submission when the nobles couldn't. He defeated Byzantine armies when the professional soldiers failed. He gave the common people a glimpse of a world where they weren't just labor units serving their betters. And even though his reign was brief, even though he died in exile, even though history tried to forget him, he changed something fundamental. After Ivalo, the idea that peasants were incapable of rule, that they lacked the intelligence or courage for leadership, became harder to maintain with a straight face, because everyone knew the story. The swineherd who became emperor, who fought Mongols and Byzantines, who broke the cosmic order and nearly held it together through sheer will. They called him the Iron Tsar, and iron, once forged, doesn't bend. It breaks before it bends. Ivalo never bent, and that's why he matters.